Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway, the ARCA Racing Series 250, the second event of the 2011 season. 19 races on the schedule for this series, and they go back-to-back on super speedways to kick off the 2011 season. Again, Grant Enfinger out in front of the field after the first caution came out. Dakota Armstrong, Brian Silas, Pierre Bourque, and James Hilton, your top 5 right now. Ray Dunlap.
Hey, Rick, earlier you were talking about experience up on the spotter stand. Well, for the number 41 of Ty Dillon, they've got Billy O'Day up there talking, and he's been communicating back and forth with the spotter for Brandon McReynolds, saying, hey, we want you to go with us. They said, yes, we're committed to stay right up there and go. But the bottom line here is Richard Childress also on the radio saying it looked to me like Brandon McReynolds has been a little bit aggressive in the corner doing some bump drafting. So let's go communicate with him. We need these two cars to finish up at the front of the field. Bob?
Well, Brent Brevac in that 3 machine, we saw him with a right front flat a little while earlier in this race. A simple report, the sway bar arm broke on that car, and that's what caused the damage. He has since come in, replaced that sway bar arm, and he's back out in the racetrack right now.
There's Frank Kimmel. He came back down pit road for a second time. Frank was one of those drivers that elected to run in that back pack, the second pack.
He is full. I'm telling you right now, he got it full of fuel because the overflow, the vent on the back is still, fuel is still coming out of it. They got that thing as full as you could possibly get it.
And remember, this is the older style fueling systems,
right.
not like all of NASCAR's using now with that closed system, the vented system, right, where you don't have a catch can man. This is the old style here, so that's why you still have an overflow coming out the back of the car. I know I was talking to Bill Kimmel, Frank's brother and crew chief, yesterday, and they said they've been doing a lot of work on fuel mileage. They saw what Bobby Gerhardt did at Daytona. They've been doing a lot of work in that area.
Wednesday on a special Car Warriors, the All-Stars face off against Air Force Challengers to create the ultimate Hollywood car of destruction. This time, they only have 36 hours. If you thought 72 hours was insane, think again. All new Car Warriors, that's Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. On Speed. Again, out in front of this field, Grant Enfinger, Dakota Armstrong, Brian Silas, Pierre Bourque, James Hilton, Nick Igdalski all stayed on the racetrack.
How about Grant Enfinger said, I'm going to take this opportunity to get me a little bit of fuel.
Grant decides to duck onto pit road. They'll be giving the field 1 to go. And so Grant thinks this is the time to fill up.
We're going to complete lap number 19. Complete lap number 20. That leaves 74 laps. That is not totally out of the question.
So a potential pit road strategy now for Grant Enfinger in that 36.
But things have to work so well. You have to get enough caution laps. Daytona, we had a lot of caution laps, and that's what allowed Bobby Gerhardt to run those 75 laps. Tom Hessert's in here, Bob.
This is the 4th time that Tom Hessert has been on pit road during this caution. He actually went down on the apron, and they're working on the bottom of the left front fender right now, trying to get that pushed out a little bit because it got caved in. But John Monson, his crew chief, has been filling up his car each time he comes in. He's going to try to make it the rest of the way. He's going to stretch it and see if he can go the rest of the distance here at Talladega.
Did you see the front of that race car? It was a little bit dirty all around kind of the edges, but right in front you could tell there's been a little bit of bump drafting going on. Bob?
A little bit of bump drafting, and also if you looked at the front end of that machine, all sorts of oil on the front nose and the windshield. They really had to clean that windshield hard because remember, Hessert was behind Kyle Fowler, and that's why he dropped back, because he saw that 15 car leaking oil for a couple of laps on that racetrack.
Good move by Tom Hessert. Yep. It's amazing how easy and how quickly a windshield can get covered with oil with just somebody spitting just a little bit of fluid.
And that solves the riddle of why did Tom Hessert get out of line? Well, he knew something was about to happen big in front of him.
I thought he was going for the lead. So.
He just wanted to get out of the way and still be able to see. Dakota Armstrong won this race a year ago. And now, because Grant Enfinger ducked onto pit road, Dakota Armstrong is back in front of the field. Brian Silas again driving the 98 today. Still has a relationship
with Andy Hillenberg. As you mentioned, this is a cooperative effort between Andy Hillenberg and Eddie Sharp for Brian here. So a good opportunity. There's Pierre Bourque. That's another one of Eddie's cars. That's a team car to Brian Silas. He's right there behind his teammate.
How about mid-70s, James Harvey Hilton running back there. He's currently in the 4th spot.
He's a former winner here at this racetrack.
In the Cup Series. Green flag flies. We're back to racing.
About 40 years ago.
He won here before most of the guys running this race were born.
Exactly. See, Frank jumps to the inside to try to make some moves.
On lap 22 of this 94-lap race.
He'll get spread out pretty quickly here. Chris Buescher also made an extra pit stop, and he ended up restarting this race in the 25th position.
Scott Legacy Jr. back in 21st. Mariette Defoe in 22nd. Again, Tom Hessert back there in 26th. We'll see if they're able to make the move back up toward the front. Again, fuel mileage could come into play depending upon the caution laps that are run. Pierre Bourque on the bottom of the racetrack needs some help. Just in front of him, the 5 of Bobby Gerhardt, then the 32 of Matt Merrill duck in front of him. Now Joey Coulter goes by.
I think the train's going by right now. There's Hal Martin in the 55. There comes Chad McCumbee. Remember, Chad was leading that second pack before that caution flag. Now he's back up with the lead lap. There's Milka Duna. There's the 51 car of Vaught.
Battle for the lead. Out in front, Dakota Armstrong on the bottom of the racetrack. Ty Dillon trying to make the pass as they go through 1 and 2.
We saw how far behind Ty Dillon was. That front 2 cars took just 1 lap with that big pack to catch him. But
that was through 3 and 4. They're coming to the tri-oval now, side by side. The outside line has helped. Dakota Armstrong strung out on the bottom of the racetrack. Ty Dillon takes the lead back. He's got Brandon McReynolds right behind him, and Tim George Jr. running 3rd.
Bobby Gerhardt running 4th right now. Joey Coulter, the 16 purple car on the outside. He has Hal Martin, the red 55, behind him.
So Dakota Armstrong running the bottom of the racetrack got hung out, and the train went by.
See, Joey Coulter jump to the inside, leaves Hal Martin on the outside by himself. He has Sean Corr, the 82 car, now going to pull up behind him.
Brian Silas in the 98 on the inside. Hal Martin in the 55 on the outside. Those two battling for position.
There's Milka Duna, the 63 car on the inside, and there comes Frank Kimmel. Remember, we saw Frank make extra pit stops, and now here he is caught up with essentially with the lead pack. Now he jumps to the outside with momentum.
Trying to make that outside line work. Frank Kimmel leading the pack on the outside. Bob Dillner.
Just want to show you the tear off that came off of Tom Hessert's race car. This is why he dropped back. Phil, you talked about him dropping back. He had that oil from Kyle Fowler's car coming off of that car, hitting his windshield. Well, take a look at how cloudy this is. Now you can see me. Now Tom Hessert can see a lot better on the racetrack.
That was a good look for you, Bob. 3 wide here at Talladega.
This is what we're used to seeing here. See Frank Kimmel, that bright yellow car on the outside, the 44. There's Brett Hudson, the 94, right behind Frank.
Grant Infinger in the 36, way outside that 3 wide.
Remember, he waited till there was 1 to go to top off that fuel. He has Chris Buescher, the 17, behind him.
Front of this pack running right along the bottom of the racetrack, right along the double yellow line, and then about 7 cars, 8 cars, 10 cars back, you see them going side by side. A second line beginning to form up. We'll see if that line can make its way to the front. Now we see Infinger ducking down into the lower line, leaving some of those cars hung out on the outside. Kimmel again in front of that second line.
Frank not able to clear Milka Duna to try to get to the bottom. I think he would love to get to the bottom. A lot of these cars were in that second pack before that first caution. Frank Kimmel being one of those. Chad McCumbee, who's right in front of Milka Duna. Now Frank has room to get to the bottom. Is he going to come down there?
We'll see if he wants to stay with that outside line or he ducks in behind the inside line.
Scott Lagasse, the 25, pokes his nose in there and gets Milka Duna pushed up to the outside. Tom Hessert now behind the 25 of Scott Lagasse.
Milka Duna finished 31st at Daytona earlier this year.
it was announced earlier this week that they will definitely run the full schedule here with Shelter Motorsports in that 63 car. Obviously, Milka has experience in the Indy cars, has run the Indy 500 a number of times.
One thing she doesn't have experience in, dirt track racing, and that's how diverse this racing series is. They will race on dirt. They go from super speedways all the way to dirt tracks. Oh, in
James
the wall
Hilton.
is James Harvey Hilton in at 48.
Looks like he may have lost a right front tire.
Caution still not out, as Hilton will make his way down.
A lot of damage to James's car. Caution is out now.
And now the caution does come out for debris. So our second caution comes out. Now will Grant Enfinger stay on the racetrack, hoping to push the limit of that fuel mileage.
Well, this is when the guys have to make a decision. Do we want to come in, top off now, have that extra insurance that we think we can go the rest of the way, or do they feel like we're going to get enough caution laps in order to be able to make them have enough fuel from that earlier pit stop? A lot of damage, yeah,
to the right side of that race car. Going upwards of 190 miles an hour. Looks as though the right front tire went away for James, and he makes the hard left turn and heads behind the wall.
There he is, top of your screen, already up into the wall. Looked like you saw a car smoking down there. Originally, it looks like maybe James cut a tire down, but there was another car could have potentially been involved in that.
When the caution came out, this was the response. Milka Duno getting off the gas, and you see the 94 of Brett Hudson
just make slight
checking
contact.
up a little bit. Tom Hessert in that 52 down to the bottom of the racetrack, giving room.
Pit road's not open yet, so we'll see if who elects to pit when they come back around.
Billy Venturini.
Billy calls the shots on race day for the 25 of Scott Lagasse.
Larry Fitzgerald will receive the Aaron's Lucky Dog. You see the guys up on the wall for Richard Childress Racing.
Looks like Ty Dillon's going to take this opportunity to come down pit road, get some tires, top off that fuel.
Getting closer to being in that window. 28 laps complete. Will finish 29 laps when they come onto pit road, if they come to pit road.
I think these guys, most of these drivers and teams, would be fairly comfortable and confident that they could make it from here if they stop.
And Ty Dillon restarted this race just outside of the top 5. Only 5 or 6 cars stayed on the racetrack the last time the caution came out, and was able to right away work his way back up to the front and lead this race. So potentially this is another situation where he could get back up to the front fairly easily if he's got help.
Oh, without a doubt. Here's our Aaron's Lucky Dog, Barry Fitzgerald. But you know, I think the thing that sticks in the back of their mind is at Daytona they had some damage from an incident, came in, said no problem to work your way to the front, and weren't able really to pass anybody in Daytona with that new surface. But again, I don't think it's like that here. We've got so much more room, and the corners, the radius of the corners isn't quite as tight as it is in Daytona.
Fresh asphalt at Daytona left a lot of questions out there for a lot of the drivers. Now I think they are feeling a little more comfortable with super speedway racing. Dillon stays out.
Ty Dillon stays out.
Brandon McReynolds.
Dakota Armstrong takes the opportunity to come down pit road, as well as the 98 of Brian Silas.
Tom Hessert also making the left turn onto pit road. Bob?
Billy Venturini said we need to come in. He's been crunching the numbers on his calculator after stopping in that last caution period. They couldn't go the rest of the distance. Now he believes they can make it the rest of the way.
There's Dakota Armstrong. They stayed to get the very last ounce of fuel in that car. And oh, by the way, Bobby Gerhart stayed on the racetrack.
We always have to keep an eye on Bobby Gerhart. He and brother Billy, they are masters at the super speedways and figuring out fuel mileage and just how it could work to get out to the front. Camouflage. You can hardly see the fans here at Talladega.